Alright, guys, and welcome to the Horror Junkies of Utah, the Walking Dead podcast. This is Season 6, Episode 13, review of The Same Boat. Now, Alex, why is this episode called The Same Boat?
This episode's called The Same Boat because a character uses that line. We'll talk about her throughout the episode. She plays an important part, but it's something that she says to Carol in the episode.
Yes.
So it's a reference to dialogue.
Basically, this episode is opening right where the last one left off. Carol and Maggie are now held captive by Polly, who is played by Alicia Witt. And she does a really good job. I really liked her character, the Polly character. She's crazy but sensible, in my opinion.
I don't think she's sensible, but I think that her personality plays a really big role in this episode, and I think with casual viewers, that was something that was kind of lost on them. And it's, I was talking to people before we recorded a bunch of reviews talking about how they hated this episode. It's just Talking Dead again, and 52 minutes of nothing, and then 8 minutes of fun. I think it plays an important role. I think it's more of a slow burn than nothing happening. But I think a lot of it has to revolve around not just her character, what she's doing, but what her character's been through.
Yeah, and her character very much reminds me of Carol herself.
Yeah, there's a lot of... Go ahead.
And just, basically, yeah, just old school Carol. Now, I think Polly and Carol are like, and Maggie, there's like a big role reversal switch of all these characters, because you have Carol, who's now, seems like she's been corrupted, I guess, if you want to say corrupted, but she's really taken thought, I think, to Morgan's whole philosophy of life.
Yeah, one of the things that we didn't talk about in the previous podcast was the journal. She wrote down the number 18, and we find out, I think that was the previous episode, in fact, but she's been keeping a count of how many human beings that she's actually killed. Not zombies, but
living,
humans.
Breathing people.
Yeah.
And she's at 18. And the Polly girl makes kind of a nod to how she's lost track on how many she's killed after it hit double digits. But obviously she's pretty cold-hearted. I mean, you have basically I don't know if she's making up her mind or she already has her mind made up that she's not going to make the switch with Rick's group for Maggie.
Yeah, we're kind of all over the place. So they take them, the 4 or 5 captors. It's 4.
4 of
There's
them.
4 captors, and because Rick has the other one.
Yep.
They take Maggie and Carol hostage into this compound, and kind of an interrogation, kind of not. They're almost like they're shooting the shit with them in the room, and the captors are talking out whether they're gonna do it, whether they're not gonna do it.
And
the one guy, Donnie, is hurt, so he wants to just hurry up and do it. Wants to get it over with. He needs medical attention. Some of the group just want to kill off Maggie and Carol. Saying that Paula doesn't have the balls to do it. Stuff like that. So there's this kind of dialogue going on between these 4 people about what they should do with the people that they've just captured.
And that being said, you also have, in this episode, when it opens up and they bring him into this room, Carol's character starts hyperventilating. And she's really not herself. And at first, I thought, okay, she's totally just playing this up, making herself out to be a very weak individual. Kind of like, don't let the enemy know what your real colors are. They'll take you as less threatening, per se.
Yeah, I put down bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
But the more the episode develops, the more I think that she wasn't joking or playing it up. I think she actually was kind of distraught. Towards like the middle of the episode. Well, actually, this is still at the beginning. She says, do whatever you need to me, but leave Maggie alone and the baby. And I think she's really there, being genuine and serious, and not using strategy, just falling apart per se.
Yeah, we had talked about it in the previous episode about how Maggie, how Carol's being treated as a mother figure again, where before she was almost a rebel without a cause, and now she's baking cookies for people. She kind of took in that little Sam boy, but also kind of didn't. But I mean, she's taking care of people. She's cooking, and she talks about how cooking helps her, forget. It's almost like a way to normalize. And now she's taken away from that and then thrown back into the real world of not just monsters that out to get you, but the monsters are the people that you meet on the street every day. So I was really trying not to make that rhyme. But it's just the everyday people can be monsters or can be good guys. And she just happened to fall in bed with the monsters.
Yeah, very much so. And so we are seeing this slight role reversal between Carol and Maggie, and it really comes to the surface in this episode, I think. Which, I read some reviews online too, and a lot of people, it's just all dialogue, no action. But I think the dialogue in this episode is very needed.
Yeah.
Because it pushes the story in a new direction for these two characters. It's not just wasted dialogue. Oh, let's farm. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's, like what generally happens when it's a Talking Dead episode, I guess.
Right. And at first, I went through this motion of I thought it was another talking episode, and I didn't really feel that this group was a threat to Maggie and Carol. But the way that Carol was acting and the way that they drug it on, and especially with Paula talking about how, she killed her boss. I couldn't be with my family, and I knew my boss wasn't going to make it, so I just killed my boss. And then I've killed all these other people, and that doesn't even affect me anymore. Began to worry more and more about Carol because we weren't sure if she was putting on a show or not. And she was dealing with that Paula girl, the one who's just cold-hearted, fuck everybody. I should just kill you right now, but I'm not going to because they have one of our guys. And so I think it started with slow, and if it was easy to fall off of, get into that, oh my god, this sucks. But if you actually watched the show and paid attention, like, this Paula girl is the person that Carol sees herself turning into and does not want to be.
Yeah, and I definitely think the Paula girl sees herself in Carol as well, but even more so because, like, Carol talks about how she lost her, she had an abusive husband, she lost her child, and her faith was the only thing that got her through that. And she's like, well, fuck you, I lost 4 kids pretty much, and my husband, and, like, I think just puts it up as, like, you've been through shit, I've been through shit too,
Yeah, and then I like that Carol resorts to they drew first blood when she talks about how how Daryl shot the rockets at the people that pulled him over or stopped him.
Yes.
And then the Paula character says, "What do you mean? Those guys weren't out to kill you," which of course they probably would have, but it's kind of this play of you killed us first. We may have stopped you, but you're the one who
started this.
Right, and of course, we as the viewer know that's not true, and that's one of the things I wish they'd played more of with this gang. I wish we didn't know how bad they were coming in, because I like this idea of who do you trust? Do you trust the Hilltop gang, or do you trust this other gang? Because I really feel like they're trying to play with our emotions like that, but we already know that the Saviors are a bad bunch of folks. So you kind of have to put yourself in the shoes of the of Rick's group, and you really don't know if these people really are as bad as we've obviously seen them be. and believe him to be.
And then you get an interesting thing that happens in this episode that I thought was interesting is her boyfriend. I don't believe we ever learn his name in the episode. We might very subtly, but he kind of goes on a little rampage rant, like fucking, when things aren't going his way, he gets out of hand, but then gets knocked out.
Right, the guy with it's like not a pipe, but he has a bar or something jammed in his arm.
Yeah, and I find it very interesting, and it was very. The line was just so creepy because she's like, he gets knocked out and he's doubled over, passed out, whatever. They've controlled his bleeding to a point, but the Paula girl mentions like, oh, who, him? He's just a warm bed. I could kill him in his sleep. Like, that shows how rough around the edges and just brutal this Paula girl is.
Yeah, and there's some stuff that happens later on in the episode with both the older lady Molly and Primo, the guy who Rick has.
Yeah,
where
Primo.
It's almost like they're a cult, and so I mean we can talk more about that. But
I think I know where you're going with this.
It's almost like this cult mentality where they're all in it for this one guy who's almost like the cult leader. Negan.
Very
and so
much so.
I kind of felt that way too when she had said that. My thought was, as the episode progressed, is like, oh, okay, it's just this method of thinking that these people have where they think they're one body, one entity, and it's just like the sports analogy. Next guy up. If she has to kill this dude, she has to kill him. Who's the next person to take his place? Step up, because Negan needs you.
Yeah, very much so. And then we have, I think we're coming to the point to where now we have Maggie, who is taken into another room to be interrogated.
Yeah, interrogated by this Michelle character.
And an interrogation isn't what happens, in my opinion. It's almost like at first the woman's coming off as you know, tell me where are you from, blah blah blah, but then they get very kind of personal, and she starts talking about her boyfriend, and then Maggie notices that tattoo. I believe it says Frankie on her hand, and she's like, is that him? And she's like, oh fuck no. I barely knew that asshole. That's my father. But they almost start to develop not a friendship at all, but
I like a bond.
Yeah.
Kind of like how, very similar to how Paula reflects Carol, this Michelle character kind of reflects Maggie.
Exactly.
Where they both lost their father, they both lost children, or one lost a child and a boyfriend. Maggie has a child and a boyfriend, and then obviously she's worried about losing both of those things in that moment. So it starts off as, just tell me what I need to know. Don't drag this out longer than it needs to be drug out. And one of the lines that she likes, it's kind of this unspoken idea that's gone on in the show, is she says, one of us is going to die today. And I kind of like that, where, as we had talked about earlier, you don't know if the person you meet is going to be a good person or a bad person who's going to kill you. And there's almost that unspoken rule in this show that if you meet somebody, odds are only one of you is going to walk away from that confrontation. So I kind of like that idea. It was really just brushed over, but I thought it was kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then while this is all happening, you have Carol, the Paula girl, and what's the other lady's name?
Molly?
Is it Molly? And they're, still talking life and philosophy, I guess.
Yeah, the villain diatribes.
Yeah.
And this is where we find out that Molly, I don't know if it's here or prior, where we find out Molly has lung cancer, and that's where In the Same Boat comes from.
And Molly has what?
Molly has lung cancer.
Oh,
she's
yeah.
coughing up blood. And so Molly knows that she's going to die. And when she's talking to Carol, she says, I'm in the same boat. You're going to die presumably here.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to die of lung cancer. It's just a matter of time. And so that's where we get the name of the episode from.
Oh, yeah. And then, so basically, you know, they start this plan to where, you know, we're going to have our guys come meet us here. We're going to make Rick's group think we're going to do this trade in this field. But that's not what we're really going to do.
Right. And that's where we get the interesting analogy of what water does to things. And at first I was kind of like, I don't know what you're talking about, Paula. But she talks about the carrot, eggs, and coffee. Water goes through a carrot and makes it soft. Water interacts with an egg and the egg comes out hard. And coffee changes the water. And so it's kind of an interesting analogy to what the Zombo apocalypse does to people. It'll either make people soft, or either make people hard, or change people altogether. Whereas she would be the coffee.
Yeah.
And not just change the people, but the people have a direct impact on what's going on. It's almost like an interplay with the coffee and water analogy.
Exactly. And then they end up leaving the room, and now we have Carol and Maggie both left alone, both trying to get out of there.
Before you get there, after Molly leaves the room and it's just Paula and Carol, Paula asks, in the laughing, almost mocking tone, "Are you going to kill me?" And Carol says, "I hope not."
Oh, yeah.
And that's just this kind of...
She doesn't want to.
She's not saying it sarcastically. She's not saying it in like a mocking way back. It's a very genuine, I hope that
it doesn't come to this.
Kill you. Whereas Paula is, she's assuming that I'm going to kill your friends and I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of where this whole Paula is Carol's inner demons that in the flesh kind of hits its peak.
Yeah. I would have to agree. And then that's where the big whole breakout scene comes to play. She uses that
the rosary. Yep.
And has sharpened it, releases her binds, goes and finds Maggie, helps her release her restraints, and now they
set a trap.
Yeah.
Yeah, they set a trap with Donnie's now reanimated body. So that one's the next person opens up that door, they get attacked.
Exactly.
Blindsided, and that ends up being lung cancer Molly.
Yep, and she's just taken out. And then I felt bad for her. That's a really shitty way to go.
Well, when you're a shitty person, that's kind of what
I didn't see her... Well, she was shitty, but not... I don't know. I guess I shouldn't feel bad for anybody in this series.
Well, she did share cigarettes with Carol, so at least she wasn't a total bitch. But, I mean, the episode started off with her talking about how she wanted to kill both Maggie and Carol, so you kind of get what's coming to you.
Yeah, right there and then, rather than even wait. And now we have... Is it Paula that we run into next?
No, well, Maggie and Carol are trying to make a getaway, and then they find out that they were basically trapping them in with zombie corpses.
Oh, yes.
So they have to kind of turn around. They have to get out of there, and that's when Paula, who doesn't know the infinite ammo code, is shooting at them and then runs out of ammo.
And runs away.
And runs off.
And then Maggie ends up...
Well, before that, Carol is pointing a gun at her. She's like, "Just do it. Just shoot me." And
Carol fails, too. This is the second time that Carol's failed to do this now.
Yeah.
Because at the very, very beginning of the last episode where she basically has the gun trained on her and then hesitates too long, that's what led to them being captured in the first place.
Yeah, so then we get where that Michelle gal tries to blindside tackle Carol.
But she comes out and she calls Maggie a liar. She's like, "You fucking liar." And I was wondering where that came from. Like, was there more conversation that we missed that got edited out? Like,
I'm not sure. The only thing I could think of was, well, I think she's talking to Carol. Is she talking to Carol or is she talking to Maggie?
I don't remember directly. I thought it was Maggie, and she just calls her.
They keep calling Carol Little Bird.
Yeah.
Because they think she's just a frightened little bird, and I thought when I heard that she was talking to Carol, calling
like,
her a liar because she's
little...
not really panicking. She's not really this person of faith. She was just taking them for a sucker. But I could be wrong.
But I do think she was panicky. I don't think she was this person of faith. But I honestly seen this whole episode that, and this is where it comes from. Is up to the end. She's still like has this hesitation, and she's not the Carol that we have come to know so far, who just burns people and kills children and
right
is like.
And she has a conversation with Maggie after some of this excitement goes down,
because she does end up killing the.
Yep, she ends up killing Michelle. Michelle has a knife and slashes at Maggie's stomach. And from what I can tell, she misses. There's no blood on her shirt throughout the episode. There's a hole in the shirt, but that's it. And Carol just blindside, 2 foot away, headshot.
Steps up and becomes that mom figure again, and very protective, right. And just, wrong thing to do, bitch. Boom.
And then that's when they run back into Paula.
And this time,
she's been hit in the shoulder.
I believe so.
And, that's when she has the whole thing about how, they weren't sure how she made it so far, but, she's just a really good liar. Uh-huh. You weren't really scared. You're not the little bird. And then they get into like a hand-to-hand combat kind of thing where...
Well, and then here again...
Carol isn't sure.
Carol screws up and almost gets taken out by a zombie, but then does a quick wraparound move, and all of a sudden now that Paula girl is impaled on a pole and face to face with death itself as a zombo.
Man, that was brutal, and I thought it wouldn't get any more brutal from the rest of the episode. I was wrong.
It was. That death scene was very brutal.
Just listening to her scream as she was impaled and eaten, and it just went on and on. And it was so effective. And
that's where we are led to the backup. And Carol grabs that walkie-talkie and tells him in a very disguised voice, meet us on the kill floor. And these guys come, and they just get totally blindsided, locked into a room. At first I'm thinking, okay, they're locking them in a room full of zombies, or they're locking them away, but no, they've drenched this room in gasoline.
And she just burns them alive.
And there comes in that cigarette again.
Yeah. And she's just like, yeah, I'm used to burning people alive. It's all good. Don't worry about it.
But I think at that moment, when they lock that door, they look at each other and they have this realization of, man, are we evil or what? Almost like they're questioning their humanity, because you just hear these guys burning to death. And that's where I've pretty much, and then we have the group rush in. They have that Primo guy. Primo.
Yeah.
And Rick's like, look, obviously your friends are dead. No one else is coming for you. You need to talk now. And that's where you were talking about this earlier, but an interesting line comes up, and we've heard it from a bunch of these saviors, that who's Negan? And he's like, well, I am. And he's like, where is Negan? I think he says, was he at the compound? And he's like, yes. Was he here? And he's like, yes. Basically what you said, that very cult status.
Yeah, and I loved this scene so much, because when Rick asks him, who's Negan, and the guy says, I'm Negan, so let's like he's about to say let's chat, and Rick cuts him off and says sorry I had to come to this and just shoots him straight up. Just fucking awesome.
But this is where I think Rick doesn't realize that no, that really isn't Negan. But I think Rick now thinks we did what we came here to accomplish. This was Negan. We killed him. It's done.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I hate to be that guy who jumps back to being on the I'm not sure about The Walking Dead. But there's still, 2, 3 more episodes?
I believe we're on 13 and they do 15, so there's 2 more, I believe.
It's. I thought it was 16.
Oh, is it 16?
I'm not sure.
We have a couple more, that's for sure.
I'm just worried that it's going to be build up now until we meet Negan in the last episode.
Negan in the flesh.
I don't know if that's what's going to happen or not, but
I do think they will go back to Hilltop and say we've killed Negan. Here we have his head or something, and they're going to be like, that's not Negan.
Yeah. There's 16 according to IMDb.
16 up. So we got 3 more left. I mean, who knows where this is going? Because The Walking Dead has surprised me these last 2 episodes.
I agree. I'd like to give it the benefit of the doubt. I don't know if I can, and it's just because they've already spoiled that we know who Negan is because he's not going to be in the episode until the very end of the season. He's not going to be in until episode 16.
Exactly.
So if this stuff hadn't been floating around, I'd be oh fuck, what's going to happen next? But I'm worried that these next 2 are going to be focusing on Hilltop thinking that Negan's dead when he's really not.
Yeah, and of course Alexandria is still in the rebuild mode. I get this sense of, is this group ever going to be able to come back to being human again? I mean, they're almost turning into this no strings attached, kill everybody, pretty brutal group. And I think we see that with everything that's happened in this episode. And then at the end, just Rick like, see ya, boom.
I would think that they've kind of learned it's a kill or be killed kind of world. That if it's kind of like how when he's rallying the troops before they start this mission, that if we don't get them, they're going to get us first. So we need to be proactive instead of waiting for them to come.
Oh yeah, for sure. I totally agree. I was reading somewhere that we did get a glimpse of Morgan in this episode, but I don't remember it.
I don't either. And he's listed as in credits only, so I don't know if that's true or not. I don't ever remember seeing him. May have been in a cutaway scene during commercial. I'm
on Forbes right now, Forbes.com, and it says, speaking of Morgan, we do get a glimpse of our staff-wielding hero tonight as well, apparently overcome by grief during a welding project. I don't remember that.
I want to say that was last week's episode, not this week's. Because I don't remember seeing him, and again, he's listed as in credits only for not being in the episode.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
so I want to say that it's just them confabulating from last week's. Yeah,
for sure. Well, do you have anything else to say about this episode? Any little crazy tidbits, or what was your favorite part of the episode?
I did have one question, and maybe I didn't see it anywhere. Maybe you had thoughts on it. And I hate to jump back to Breaking Bad again, but one of the Breaking Bad episodes that everyone seems to hate is the Fly episode that takes place entirely in one room. And the reason they shot that episode was to save money because it costs so much to take crews out and go filming. Mm-hmm. This episode made me think of that because it takes place all in one compound. You combine the outdoor part of what happened in the last episode, but then the rest of it takes place indoors. So do you think this was like a budgetary decision to just have the episode, it's not completely confined in this one space, but the majority of the episode, vast majority outside the first 5 minutes, takes place in one compound. So I was wondering if this was shot and written around that specifically, or if it was just how it goes.
if it wasn't The Walking Dead, I would say yes. But The Walking Dead, I don't think cares about budgetary constraints because, I mean, it's such a huge show and such a huge market. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they worry too much about
Well,
money.
it's not a matter of worrying about money. It's a matter of having enough money. Like when they did it on Breaking Bad, it wasn't because the show wasn't popular enough. It's because they only got X amount of money to film
Each
per
season.
season. And so
It could have been,
to cut back on costs, they filmed an entire episode in one room. And that was kind of the vibe I got from this episode was not to say it was a bad episode, so don't get me wrong, I enjoyed that episode of Breaking Bad and I enjoyed this episode of The Walking Dead. I was just wondering if you thought maybe it was a rhetorical choice for the episode. Like, okay, this is how the story has to be, or if it was, hey, we need to save some money, let's film this entire episode in this compound and have the story.
My opinion would be it wasn't done on budgetary constraints or with money, but I don't know.
Okay, I didn't see anything about it anywhere, and it was like I said, one of the things I thought of.
But
anyway,
you are very right. It's kind of like The Walking Dead almost plays on like huge sets and huge construction, you know, in very, I don't know, massive sets in some of it, and this is very different. Whereas we're in just one room 90% of the time.
Well, yeah, one room, one building, that kind of.
Yeah.
All right, I wasn't. I hadn't read anything about it, but that was the.
That was the gist you got.
If I had to take away one thing from this episode that I really liked, it was Carol's becoming a really deep character. I mean, we usually think of Carol as this killing machine. Like when she got captured, our first thought was, those people telling Carol, "Yeah, you're stuck in here with us," and Carol going full Rorschach and saying, "You think I'm stuck in here with you? You're stuck in here with me." I mean, and that's how the episode turned out, but it wasn't in that vein. It was almost, I gave you a chance. I gave you a chance to let us go. I gave you a chance to do the right thing, and these are the consequences of not doing the right thing.
Yeah, and that's I would agree, and that's probably my biggest thing of what I take away from the episode is we are now seeing very much so two developments of characters in very different ways. And role reversals, I guess.
Right.
But towards the end, Maggie even says, "I can't do this anymore."
Yeah, and I think it goes along with that whole idea of a lot of these people are taking the Hilltop's word about these guys being bad. It's kind of like the thing with Glenn and Heath in the previous episode. It wasn't until they saw the photos that they realized we're doing the right thing.
Well, who knows if Gregory even lives up to his promise, because I honestly think he's a sly little fuck.
Yeah. I don't know. We haven't been introduced to him too much. He's a very Weasley kind of guy, though, so it's hard to take anything he says or does at face value. But he's only been in the show for, 20 minutes at the most?
Yeah.
10 minutes?
Very much
so. It's hard to make a judgment of character in that short amount of time.
But maybe you're right on the budgetary side. Maybe this very last conclusion episode's going to be so big with Negan and so many bullets and bodies and explosions, kind of like how they end every season.
Yeah, I can only hope so. but I mean, I don't know, like you said, I don't think it needs that to make this second half of the season, because I too have been really impressed with this season so far. I mean, if this is the most down part of the second half of the season 6, that's awesome. I'll take it. I'll take this being the down part any day over some of those previous down episodes.
Oh, most definitely. Kind of like now.
I mean, how many episodes did we have to have of them walking to Terminus?
Far too many. Far too many. But it's definitely keeping my interest in, keeping me intrigued. Anyways, I think we covered the episode pretty well. Let us know what you guys thought of this episode and what character stands out to you, Maggie, Carol. what do you think is going to happen in the next upcoming few episodes? Let us know in the comments below. Anyways, check us out on Facebook and Instagram as well, and give us a thumbs up. I am Marcus.
And I'm Alex.
And you guys have a wonderful night. We'll see you later.